Chapter 295. Forbidden Move. Emperor Dan gloated and laughed. Kang Tian, however, looked grave. He was a disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect. If the Divine Maiden came out, perhaps their Heavenly Tao sect would be the first to bear the brunt. After all, the Heavenly Tao sect had contributed to the fall of the corpse-catching sect. And if they wanted revenge, they would definitely be the first to look for the Heavenly Tao sect. What's more, if the Divine Maiden came out, the corpse-catching sect would definitely take the opportunity to rise. They were now within the domain of the Heavenly Tao sect, and if they were to rise, they would definitely erupt into conflict with the Heavenly Tao sect. The evil methods of the corpse-catching sect are intolerable to both the righteous and devilish paths, so perhaps the righteous and devilish paths will join forces this time. Emperor Dan said so. Since the Divine Maiden is comparable to an immortal, there is still someone in this world who can subdue her. Kang Tian was surprised. HMPH, even an ant with many ants can bite an elephant to death. If the few old undead from the Flood continent come together, even if a true immortal comes down, they are still looking for death. Emperor Dan coldly snorted. Kang Tian sucked in a mouthful of cool air when he heard this. It seemed that there were many things in the Flood continent that he didn't know about. All along he had thought that his master, the law enforcement elder, was the top-tier existence in the Flood continent. But now that he thought about it, those few scattered immortals, as well as the strongest of the Mahayana stage, perhaps hidden in a corner to cultivate, they are the strongest existence in this continent. All right, no matter when the Divine Maiden comes out, this has nothing to do with you right now. Take advantage of such an opportunity to kill Li Chunjiao later and settle this scourge once and for all. Emperor Dan said gruffly. Kang Tian nodded. Nowadays, Li Chunjiao's cultivation had already been promoted to the peak of the 9th level of the Yuaning stage, and his intention had also reached 80% of the realm. As long as he had another 20%, he would be able to break through to the out-of-body stage. If he really let him reach the outbreeding stage, then Kang Tian wouldn't be able to deal with it with certainty. After all, Li Chunjiao's talent wasn't weak. Star Purgatory. Suddenly, Li Chunjiao, who was in the middle of the battle with the goddess, roared, and his entire body erupted with a thick demonic aura, which transformed into a terrifying attack that surrounded Wang Ting. This scene stunned Kang Tian, who was secretly watching the battle. Li Chunjiao has been demonized. Kang Tian looked at Li Chunjiao in the sky with his demonic aura in shock. Had he really been demonized by the star-absorbing technique and sunk into the devil's path? No, this is just a devilish divine ability. He has cultivated a devilish technique. What a powerful devilish technique. If he didn't cast it out, even old me wouldn't be able to tell. The people of the Heavenly Tao sect were all hidden from him. Emperor Dan was also surprised. Kang Tian was shocked at his words. He stared intently at the battle in the sky. He didn't expect that Li Chunjiao had secretly learnt a magic skill. If Li Chunjiao suddenly exploded his demonic skills in the middle of the battle, he was afraid that it would deal a great blow to the enemy. Kang Tian couldn't help but be cautious. He was waiting for the end of the battle between Li Chunjiao and the Divine Maiden. When that time came, the heavily injured Li Chunjiao would not be a match for him. For Li Chunjiao, who cultivated the star-absorbing grand technique, Kang Tian didn't mind taking advantage of people's danger, because it was too dangerous to let the star-absorbing grand technique circulate. After all, those who cultivated the star-absorbing grand technique wanted to rapidly increase their cultivation. Then they could only wreak havoc on the world by killing other cultivators and devouring each other's power. Although Kang Tian was not a savior, but since he had already formed a feud with the Li family, he naturally wouldn't leave behind the scourge of Li Chunjiao, even if he didn't fear the other party. But what about the people around him? So, you must die. A cold light flickered in Kang Tian's eyes as he stared at Li Chunjiao's eyes, transmitting an icy killing intent. In the sky, Wang Ting was incomparably powerful. Her true essence swirled out around her, dispersing the boundless demonic aura. And then with a gentle slap, she sent Li Chunjiao flying. This was an invincible might. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Even though Li Chunjiao's sudden outburst of demonic energy caused Wang Ting to be a little surprised, the absolute gap in strength caused Li Chunjiao to end up losing miserably. "I'm not willing or, Tinga, what's wrong with you? Why don't you recognize me?" Li Chunjiao, who had been sent flying, roared up to the sky, his eyes filled with incomprehension. When he returned from the Heavenly Tao sect, the first thing he wanted to see was Wang Ting. Yet the other party had left the imperial capital long ago and was nowhere to be found. By the time he found Wang Ting in the Fendu mountain range, the other party mercilessly injured him and then left without even looking at him. Fortunately, Wang Ting seemed to have some purpose and had never left the Fendu mountain range. Li Chunjiao was very puzzled in his heart. Every time he recovered from his injuries, he would come here to look for Wang Ting. However, every time they met, a battle was inevitable, and in the end, he lost miserably and was severely injured. This time, it was still the same. He who had exploded his full strength definitely surpassed the average outbreathing stage. Powerhouse. But in front of Wang Ting, who had already reached the divine separation stage realm, he was still unbeatable. Poor guy. Little gold sighed once in a while. He. She has awakened the memories of her previous life. She's no longer the girl you know. Li Chunjiao is looking for death. If he waits until the three corpses of the drought demon merge, the first one to die will be him. Emperor Dan gloated and laughed. How majestic was the goddess. Even if she was reborn as a corpse, it was still an existence that could not be blasphemed. Li Chunjiao's existence was something the goddess could not tolerate and would definitely get rid of him. It was only that the current Wang Ting still retained the memories of this world and had an affection for Li Chunjiao, which was why she had shown mercy. Kang Chon was somewhat silent, his eyes flickering, not knowing what he was thinking. Not far away in the air, Li Chunjiao unwillingly glanced at Wang Ting, who stood proudly in the void, then dragged his heavily injured body in the direction ****** of Fendu City. Wang Ting indifferently watched Li Chunjiao leave, then her figure flickered and disappeared into the air. "Let's go, kid," Emperor Dan reminded. Kang Chon nodded, then increased his speed and chased after Li Chunjiao's figure. By virtue of using the Sublime Slash to perform several instantaneous transmissions midway, he quickly caught up with the heavily injured Li Chunjiao and stopped him on top of a deserted wilderness outside of Fendu City. "It's you, Li Chunjiao," that the purple-clothed youth who suddenly appeared in front of him. His eyes couldn't help but shrink as a bad feeling rose in his heart. "It's me." Kang Chon looked at Li Chunjiao indifferently, his heart floating with memories of the past. The same genius from Heavy Iron City. They had already secretly fought each other since they were young. And in the Heavenly Tao Demon ceiling ranking, Li Chunjiao had even joined with other people to assassinate him once. And it was also that time that let him know the secret of Li Chunjiao's possession of the star absorbing grand technique. "It's time to have an end between us." A purple lightning flashed in Kang Chon's eyes, and a powerful aura erupted from him, and immediately, purple light shrouded his body, and his long hair turned purple. "It's over. It's time for closure." Kang Chon's eyes shone brightly, displaying Kang Chon Hegemony Blood's battle state. And with the strongest aura, he pressed towards Li Chunjiao on the opposite side. The two supreme geniuses from Heavy Iron City were finally going to fight to the death after more than a decade. This battle represented Kang Chon ending the past, and in the future, he would be facing the geniuses of the entire Flood continent. And Heavy Iron City and the Great Tang country would all become memories. This battle, you were inevitable. Kang Chon stepped into the air. His eyes were stern. His blade-like gaze swept across the opposite side of Li Chunjiao, a huge might pressing down. Little Gold looked on coldly from the side, preventing Li Chunjiao from escaping. The surrounding area was deserted, and the sky was cloudless. It was a good place for a duel. Li Chunjiao's face was gloomy. His eyes were ice cold, as he stared deathly at the Kangchuan far away, and said in that low voice, taking advantage of someone's danger, "This doesn't seem to be your style." He was heavily injured. Blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth. His clothes were ragged, and his entire person looked extremely wretched. Fighting at such a time would be most unfavorable to him, especially when facing such a strong person like Kangchuan. My style. Oh, my style can restrain me. After knowing me for so many years, is that all you know about me? Kangchuan laughed coldly as the might on his body grew stronger and stronger. This time, Li Chunjiao must die. No one could save him. Can't you walk the hegemonic way? Follow your heart. You should worship the devil sect, not the heavenly Tao sect. Li Chunjiao smiled bitterly at his words. The way of hegemony, to the point of rigidity and following one's heart, was very similar to the devil's way. And many people who walked the way of hegemony would fall into the devil's way if they weren't careful. Li Chunjiao understood in his heart that once this kind of person decided on something, it was impossible to change it. And it was definitely a one-way street that did not retreat in the slightest. How about the righteous path? How about the devil's way? My Tao is always under my feet, Kangchuan said coldly, that unrivaled domineering aura, looking out of the world. He wasn't that kind of pedantic person. No matter if he was in the righteous path or the devil's path, he still walked the hegemonic path. Kangchuan's hegemonic blood. This was a sublimation from the depths of his bloodline. From the moment Kangchuan was born, it had already decided his future. Feeling the unrivaled hegemonic aura of Kangchuan's body, Li Chunjiao knew that he was in for a rough ride this time, yet his heart was very calm at this moment. If you kill me, aren't you afraid of the heavenly Tao sect's chastisement? Li Chunjiao looked towards Kangchuan. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about killing Kangchuan, he just didn't have the opportunity to do so. And he didn't dare to do so within the domain of the heavenly Tao sect, because the heavenly Tao sect wouldn't allow it. In fact, he had been waiting for an opportunity to wait until Kangchuan entered the battlefield of righteousness and demons. He would kill Kangchuan there. That way the heavenly Tao sect wouldn't notice. It was just that he hadn't waited for his chance. Instead, he had already ushered in Kangchuan's killing opportunity, which made him a bit stifled. Cultivating a demonic technique. Even if Master Zun learnt about this, he wouldn't blame me, and he might even implicate your family for it. Kangchuan sniffed, but he had a cold smile on his face. Unexpectedly learning that Li Chunjiao cultivated demonic techniques had given him a reason to kill the other party. And he thought that even if the heavenly Tao sect knew about it, they wouldn't blame him. Hey, you saw it all. When Li Chunjiao heard this, his eyes instantly shrunk, and a terrifying killing aura shot out from his eyes. This was truly a matter of death or immortality. Cultivating the demonic skill was known by Kangchuan. Even if he escaped today, as long as Kangchuan reported to the heavenly Tao sect, he would still die. Within this heavenly Tao sect's domain, he didn't think that he would be able to escape the pursuit of the law enforcement lineage. I'm sorry for what happened to Wang Ting. Perhaps your death in my hands today is your greatest fortune. Kangchuan looked at Li Chunjiao and said indifferently, "What do you mean?" Li Chunjiao's face changed as he heard this, anxiety permeating his voice. From Kangchuan's words, he felt that the other party seemed to know something about Wang Ting. Knowing the reason will be even more of a blow to you, Kangchuan indifferently said. Tell me. Li Chunjiao hissed. His love for Wang Ting was genuine. Otherwise he wouldn't have risked his life and kept pestering Wang Ting here. Not even listening to the persuasion of the one inside him. Kangchuan gazed at him and sighed a little. Speaking of which, it was still Li Chunjiao who had saved him. If he hadn't snatched Wang Ting in the first place, then today's tragedy would have to be faced by him instead. Tell me, Li Chonjiao hissed once again. She's the reincarnation of the soul of the goddess. Have you heard of the legend of the 3 corpses of the drought demon? She is the sole corpse of the 3 corpses. Kang Chon looked at Li Chonjiao with some sympathy and said, she hasn't fully recovered her memories yet, so you were able to escape. Otherwise, when she truly recovers her memories, then she will personally end you. When Li Chonjiao heard this, his body shook and his entire body froze like a wooden chicken. In his mind, an eerie voice exclaimed, it's the soul corpse of the drought demon. No wonder it was able to isolate old man's probing. That kid was right. If her memory fully recovers, the first one to kill will be you. Listen to old man, hurry up and leave this place, and don't ever come back again.